As a female mortgage lender, helping hundreds of families yearly change their lives with a purchase or refinance loan, join me on She Means Business as I interview remarkable professional women who are redefining success and leadership. Get ready to be inspired. Welcome to She Means Business.
Hi, my name is Ilana Blass. I'm an attorney. I work at Bachner PLLC. We are a full-service firm that does corporate, healthcare, IT, employment, and commercial real estate, which is my specialty. I also have my own law office of Ilana Blass. I do all family law and mediation related to both family law and commercial mediation. Please reach out with any of your legal needs.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of She Means Business. And I'm honored to have with me Ilana Blass. Ilana Blass is an attorney. I knew her first as the rabbi's wife. I didn't even know she was a lawyer. And she has a lot of wisdom to impart, and she's very bright. And over the course of the years, I've met her across different real estate transactions and some family law transactions. And I'm really, really happy to have Ilana here to share some of her insights and to have this conversation. So welcome, Ilana.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me and for taking the time to discuss what I do.
Yes, we are actually today meeting on a Sunday.
Yes.
And it's been hard to coordinate schedules.
Correct.
That's between you being busy, between me being busy. And I thought let's just dive right into it. Tell us, Ilana, what you do, what your business does. And I know, just said you're a lawyer, what areas of law that you cover. And you are a hybrid. Tell us about that.
Yes, I am a hybrid in many things in life. As I said, I am an attorney. I do two things. I work for a firm. I do mostly commercial real estate, also some corporate, depending on the environment and the market. And aside from that, I have my own firm where I do exclusively family law, which is post-nups, prenups, divorce, custody, and child support type.
Do you do any mediation?
I do. Oh, yes, I do a lot of mediation as well. Divorce mediation, and I've done commercial mediation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you have, so tell me how you're the hybrid, like what, like a little more specific on the.
Yeah, sure. So, when I never meant to go to law school. I actually taught. I was
really?
a teacher. Yeah. For many years.
Well, hold on. Let's take a step back. She never meant to go to law school, but she fell into something for 3 or 4 years.
Yes. I was a teacher. I thought I would teach. I wanted to be a high school principal, growing up. At that point, my husband, who was supposed to be a psychologist, said, no, he's staying and he's going into the rabbinate and kind of shelving psychology. And I was like, okay, I need to be very practical. We should not be having like a rabbi and a teacher, because I already had 2 kids and I figured life's just going to get more expensive. My father's an attorney. So I already had gone to college. I'm like, what's easy? What can I do quickly and I might like? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to law school. And so I just took the LSATs and went to law school.
Which law school did you go to?
I went to Cardozo.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to Cardozo, which was a great experience. As I said, I had 2 kids. My husband was very helpful. My family was very helpful during that time. And then all of a sudden I popped out a lawyer 3 years later, not really quite realizing what I just did.
And then you got a job at a big law firm?
Yeah, so it's very competitive, especially if you're not, I'm going to be honest, if you're not in Yale or Columbia or Harvard, it is very competitive and you need to be in the top X% of your class. And I don't know how, because I had 2 kids, but I ended up there, and all of a sudden I had all these interviews with these huge law firms, international, with thousands of attorneys. And in my heart, I knew I always wanted to do family law. But generally, the larger law firms do not have family law practices. There was one a little bit smaller that I happened to have known a partner there from where I grew up, and he was trying to get me to come. He promised I could do family law, but the whole world told me, like, don't be an idiot. Go to the best firm that you can get into, which is what I did. And I was there for, I think, 6.5 years. I came in with 2 kids. I left with 4. And while I very much appreciate I would say the education, the legal education that I got, I will say it straight out, I should have done from the beginning what I wanted. I had always wanted to do family law, but kind of the big name and the corporate name sucked me in, and I went there.
I think more than that, it's probably the practical side.
Yes.
It's probably the practical side. Like, I'm not saying that family law doesn't pay. I'm sure it does. I know it does. At least I've done loans for family lawyers that do very, very well. But when you're coming straight out of law school with a job, you probably got paid more in the higher corporate environment.
Yeah.
And and at that point, your husband's a rabbi, you have 4 kids, practically, what do you do next? And as you said, when you have the basis of that of those higher level law firms, it opens up other doors for you.
It definitely has opened up doors. Even now, I'll have clients that say, new clients, they'll say, I looked you up, you worked here, so I know you're okay. And I wanted to say, no, you really don't know I'm okay just because I work there, but
But there's a certain level of intelligence and a certain level of competency in order to be in those firms. Correct. And that's what you demonstrated by that.
Correct. So listen, I don't like to look back. I do all the time and say, I should have done this, which is the worst thing to do. But I do appreciate everything I did learn, how to be a lawyer, how to communicate well with clients, how to communicate difficult conversations with clients, which we have to do a lot. And so I do appreciate all that time there. After that, I needed a break. I went for about 1.5 years to a smaller firm, hated it. And then I kind of fell into a job at the Beth Din of America, which is, in colloquial terms, it's a based-in. It's an arbitration panel, basically made up of a Jewish arbitration panel, where people bring both commercial and matrimonial disputes. And I was there for 5 years, and I got to know.
It was probably fascinating.
Fascinating. You saw the good and the bad. You saw the best and the worst of people.
It's very interesting. I was reading this past weekend, one of the local Jewish magazines, an article about something about that he was reading. He has a newsletter out of Lakewood, New Jersey, and he basically, I don't remember the name of the letter even, but a newsletter, but basically he has a whole thing about, how to make money. He says that a lot of people want to know how to make money. They all know all the bills we have to pay, all the charity we have to give, but how do you actually make money? And what's the best way to and he talked about a lot of things. But one thing he spoke about was I'm just sorry, I lost my train of thought. He was talking, not that based in so much, he was talking about, so he said that the Jewish community in general has a bad rep, that we don't educate our students, and he said it's so not true. If you look at the people from our community, from the Jewish community, they do very, very well in law school.
Right.
They get very high paying jobs. We have a very high percentage of entrepreneurs who are successful at what they do. Now, the reasons why behind that there's a bunch of reasons why, but at the end of the day is that when you go, so what I'm saying So what I'm trying to bring out over here is when he said that about a high level going to law school and doing very well, it's interesting to me when I learn something from a Jewish legal perspective versus a secular legal perspective of how much is similar and what the differences are. I just find that very, very, very interesting. I find it something eye-opening a lot. And I very much enjoy it. I write mortgages. So in Jewish law, we don't really charge interest. Right. So what is the workaround? What is the halachic? What is the legal Jewish workaround on interest? And we have to learn that. Right. And that's like the merging of the two worlds. And I always find that fascinating. So when you said he worked in the Beit Din, the Beit Din, which is basically like a Jewish court, to me, moving the secular and the religious and kind of working within each other, the concept is very fascinating to me.
It's called comparative law.
Okay.
There's a real name for it.
I didn't know there was a law for it.
It doesn't have to be Jewish or non-Jewish.
To me, it's just intriguing.
It is very intriguing, and it was fascinating, and I got to work with people, which I like to do too. I like that interface. It was fascinating, but at a certain point, it was time to go back to practice law. So I went back. I worked for a more local real estate. That's how we got to know each other professionally, a real estate firm. And now I work for a larger firm in the city, Bachner PLLC. They are basically a full-service firm, M&A. They do a ton of healthcare, IP, employment law.
How many lawyers are there?
I should know that.
Okay, you don't know that.
There's quite a few. It's not huge.
It's a large firm, a lot of lawyers.
15 to 20 lawyers, a lot of support staff. and really smart people. A lot of the partners or senior associates have all worked at large firms and just wanted a different environment. It's very client focused. We are really there to serve them and to be there in a way that you can't necessarily be in a large firm, and you can't be in a firm that's tiny that can't service all the needs.
That's what I'm saying,
Right.
like large is relative.
Right, large is relative. But so we have a client, if I may be doing real estate for them, but they also have plenty of litigation going on in our litigation department. And then they're going to have an employment problem, and our employment department does that. So I'm very happy there. I just started there in August.
But they
and
don't
it's
do
great.
family law.
They do not do family law. They don't want to do family law. Most people don't want to do family law. And,
So you have your own practice where you do family law?
Correct.
And when the firm that you're with is aware of that, right?
100%.
So they know you're building a family law practice while you work for them.
Right.
And that's there's something I was discussing with Ilana before. I know of people that they like start businesses while they're working someplace else, and sometimes the lines can get blurred when the boss doesn't know about it.
Right.
So Ilana has such a high level of integrity. I didn't have to ask her. I just knew.
I wouldn't be able, it's hard to laugh. I know all the things I do wrong in life, so I don't need to add another one to it. And I think integrity as an attorney, as as a business person in general, but as an attorney, your integrity is sacrosanct. You cannot blur the lines.
So Ilana, you have a full-time job in a large law, in a medium-sized or a
Right.
larger law firm in the city.
Right.
And you're building a family law practice pretty much probably on the side.
Right.
You have 4 kids.
Yeah.
And I believe you have some grandchildren today.
I have one
You
very
look-
delicious grandson.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where do your children live?
They live about 30 minutes away, so that's great. We get to see them. I have one married daughter, and we get to see my grandson a
That's
lot.
wonderful. So I
It's
wanted to
amazing.
ask you the question that I ask every single female entrepreneur, and in your case, a hybrid entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My business is work-life balance. That's one thing us women, we really struggle with it.
Yeah.
And I think we struggle it more than men, although I think men are starting to feel it too. I actually spoke with somebody on Thursday night, and he was saying that I think he has 3 daughters, like 18 to 25.
Okay.
And then he has a little one now, a boy who's 8. And he said that when his children were younger, he was working such long hours. And if he had known what he's missing out by not being more around, because for the younger one, the 8-year-old, he's totally become very flexible at work. And he's there much more for this little one. And he said he just wishes you can take back those years of when he was around. So I see that men are feeling that their responsibility, or that they're wanting to be with their family more. But I know as women, we have that mother's guilt. So tell me what you struggle with, some tips, and
Yeah.
how you feel you're conquering.
So I'm not great at work-life balance, unfortunately. I do think, just to go back to what you said, I think in general, the corporate world is very, very different than it was 20 years ago. When I started, as a first-year associate, there was always like this mental health hotline. I don't know. It was like one of the benefits they offered. I never looked at it. Nobody spoke about work-life balance that much. Nobody spoke about, you just were expected to bill and do what you need to do. Now I have siblings who are partners in large law firms, and they bemoan the fact that it's all about work-life balance, and not enough work always gets done. Especially post-COVID, pulling all the associates back into the office is difficult.
I think that COVID did one thing to every world, not just the corporate world, is that the realization that some people are able to work very well from home. And and also the availability of being at home and at the office and having equal time, having the same kind of setup. Like, for example, for me, when I work from home, I have the same computers, the same mirrors, whatever happened in the office. My phone is the same extension. No, people don't have to know where I am, actually.
Right.
So, but I find for my employees, some employees work really well from home, and some just don't do well at home. And so I think the corporate world has seen that, and so they're able to make some concessions to some employees.
Yeah.
Because they're able to bill, even when they're at home. But in general, the in the entrepreneurial world, I go to different summits and everything's about the work-life balance.
Yeah.
Everything. There's a lot of burnout entrepreneurs. There's a lot of burnout people who are highly successful. There's a lot of, you lose your balance, you lose your train of like, you lose your focus sometimes, or when you're starting to make some money and like you forget some important things. And so they focus a lot on that. They focus a lot on being there for your spouse, being there for your children, being there for being there for yourself.
Yeah,
that's a lot, and
that always comes last.
And also for the community. We talk about the charity, the things we do to go out for others. We talk about that a lot because it's important, and I think that in the entrepreneurial world, they bring that into, especially when you're at a certain level, you have to start, like really feeling that, because there's a high level of burnout, a high level of divorces, high level of problems if you don't achieve that balance.
So I have found, I just started in this new job working at home, and to me that has kind of been the solution in many ways. No matter what, I'm going to be working many nights at 7, 8 o'clock at night. That's just what it is. But if I've been home all day, which means I can actually get dinner on the table, it takes 20 minutes to make dinner. I mean, if you do it right? Or half an hour. But if I'm out of the house all day, that means I have to get it done by 7 a.m. and have it ready, or do it the night before. So for me personally, I found that working at home was the greatest benefit to me, because I could be very, very focused on work and take a break. Because if you think about it, how much time, even in the office, like you need a break. So you might chit chat with your coworker.
Or take a lunch break.
You might take a lunch break. So, but for me, I didn't want to do those things. I just wanted to make dinner, or I just wanted to throw in a load of laundry, or do whatever I needed to do for myself, or hop on my Peloton for a half an hour. And being at home allows me to do that.
It's interesting that you say that. It's true. I have people from my office who work from home just because it doesn't make sense to drive to the office.
Right.
If you think about it, like you're talking about working in the city, but if you think maybe work locally, and you said you worked in a local firm, so I'm sure you're familiar with this, that if it takes you a half hour to drive to work and a half hour to drive home, that's an hour of your day. Now that hour could be spent taking your child to carpool, could be working so you can finish earlier, get dinner done. And I have a lot of mommies who work for me, and they have young children, and they don't have carpools in the morning. So for them to be at work between 9 and 5, and but they can't leave their house till 8:45 to take the child to school, that means they really can't start work till 9:30. Or the child care between hours is very, before and after hours, it's very, very, very difficult. And I think that's one thing that in our society, we really haven't solved that.
No.
We have daycare centers that in certain segments of the population is that they have from 7 till 7 or 7 till 6. And a lot of people do drop off that early and all that. But when you have multiple children have to get out the door, it doesn't always work. And so it's hard. It's really, really hard.
I remember years. I mean, my youngest is 16, so I'm kind of over that hump a little bit. There's still, sometimes bus doesn't come. But my husband would be on the way to the city for work, and I'd be waiting to go to the city, and the bus doesn't come. And all of a sudden, I'm an hour late. Or I miss a bus, and I'm an hour and a half late. And it was like panic, like full blown on panic attack. Like, I'm not going to get into the city until 10:30.
Well, I'll tell you the other side of it, because I have children who live in town. I have 6 married children.
Wow.
And of my kids, 5 live very locally, very close to us. And lately, because my youngest now is 11. So my little one goes on a bus at 8:15, but she's very, very easygoing, and her school's not far from where we live. So I have children who are nurses. And I have one set of children that a husband and wife are both nurses. Wow. And my son-in-law was in school, my daughter was working, and then my son-in-law got a job. And suddenly they had hours that she does night shift and he would do day shift. So she's coming home at 8:30. He has to leave at 6 o'clock. What do they do? So that's where I was able to come in. We'd go there. I'm up early, so I go there 6 in the morning.
Wow.
While her kids would sleep over my house. We kind of did that shifting. And we helped them out. My daughter and I, my 11-year-old and me, were by their home in the morning. And then we have another set of children who she's a teacher and she has to leave for work at 8:15. Her kids don't leave until 8:45. Her husband's in school now. So has 2 mornings a week where he has to be in rotation in his schooling. And so she brought the kids to our house at 7:45. Then she went to go to work, and we took them to daycare and all that. So we were there for them. Not everyone has us.
No.
And none of it has us there
Right.
to help them in this way. And these are common challenges on two working family households.
And the problem is that I always had someone in the house, almost always. I don't want to say always. Almost, I couldn't function otherwise. It's when my kids got older and I didn't have babies anymore. That's when all this panic set in because I didn't have a fallback. But I always had someone come into the house. I didn't have a live-in, but I had someone come in basically from like 8 till my husband got home.
Right.
I do have to say my husband is great. Like he has taken on a lot of the, like he'll cook dinner once or twice a week. And for the weekend, for Shabbos, he probably cooks more than I do, especially on a winter Shabbos when I have to work. And so it is really difficult when you have 2 people with totally inflexible jobs. That's almost beyond overwhelming. And unless you have amazing childcare that's reliable and in the house, it's really difficult.
Right. We found that also over the years as I was growing my business. My husband's an accountant, so my husband had a job. And I told him at one point, I said, you have to get a job that gives you more flexibility. I said, I can't burn 2 ends of a candle. Right. That was about 20 years ago. I said, I can't do it. I said, I can't get the kids out in the morning and be home to pick them up in the afternoon. Now, in our case was, I didn't want to have childcare all day. I didn't grow up with, my mother didn't work. I grew up with a mother in the house. Right. I wasn't used to having someone outside the family come help. And at that point in my life, I wasn't willing to have somebody come in. I thought we can do it all somehow. And the only people I'd rely on was my family. So I'm one of the older ones of a large family. Right. So my youngest sisters always help me.
Wow.
And then I have an older sister who's a married sister who's been absolutely wonderful for me. In the beginning when we were working and I'd come home, let's say 5, and my daughter went to play group till 3. My daughter went to her house every day. I remember every morning coming to pick up my daughter's little round head in the window, waiting for mommy to come home every single day. My sister was absolutely fabulous and fantastic for me. And over the course of the years, we've always lived close together and we've been able to help each other out.
You're very lucky. Most people don't have that.
We were very lucky. So even now, we just managed to somehow make it work that our kids are the same age. I have to tell you that my sister is better than me because my kids are older than hers. But my daughter's now 18, has a cousin who's 18 who's 9 months younger. And my daughter's 11, has a cousin who's 6 months younger. So my daughter's better at the timing than I think. But the bottom line is that we've always been able to help each other out and share in babysitting. Now, as we got older, we shared in daycare and we sent to the same playgroups in the same schools so we can help each other with carpools, we always had that. We thank God we had the family support system. But back then, I remember telling my husband that you have to get another job. Yeah. You need job flexibility. Either you can be able to go to work late and come home late, or go to work early and come home early. But I need that flexibility.
You can't do both ends.
So he got a job at the time in Teaneck, New Jersey, which gave him flexible hours. And he'd leave at 5:30 in the morning. He'd go in the morning to pray in the Rome synagogue in Teaneck, because they had a very early time to pray. And then he'd come home at about 2:30 and pick up the kids. Wow. And I'd work till 5:30 or 6 whenever I needed to work. So in the morning, I would get the kids out the door. I would cook dinner in the morning and have everything get everything ready. And he would have them in the afternoon. So we always did the homework. I've never done homework with my kids. He's always done homework with my kids. Till today, he does homework with my daughter. Right. So that's one thing we did. And then as I got busier, he started to build his practice. And so he went to his firm and he went from 5 days to 4 days to 3 days to 2 days to finally cut it off. Right. And now he has his own business. And we have to juggle again. So talking about balancing. So I have an 11-year-old at home. I have an 18-year-old who just went away to Israel for a year to learn in a seminary there. So we always had someone home when she came home from school. So we don't want our daughter coming home to an empty house. Right. So again, we had to sit down, my husband and I, and figure out what are we going to do this year specifically. What are we going to do this year? Because we have an 11-year-old. So we made up that my husband would come home at 4 because it was easier for him. But I would be home by 6. And when we eat dinner, he'd go back to work after dinner. So he does that at like 7 o'clock to like 9 o'clock. He goes back to work. So I do that. So we've learned how to balance and struggle. We have to.
There's no one formula for every couple.
Well, I think the point of me saying this was when you were talking that I feel it's important if you have a spouse or a significant other who's there and backs you up and helps you. Like I'm so fortunate. My husband backs me up and he's my biggest cheerleader. Right. Because if I couldn't rely on somebody else, I'd have to figure it out myself, and I haven't had to.
So I also have that. I mean, he's very busy, but over the years, I've been very, very lucky. He's the one who tells me, you could do whatever you want. And I'm like, no, I can't, you know? So
Yeah.
I am very lucky. But I think part of it also that we haven't discussed is the actual work itself, at least for me, can be very stressful. There are, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think you also have that constant deadlines. For me, it's constant client management, and some of my clients, all of my clients are great. Some are more demanding than others, especially with their deadlines. And so it's not just that, okay, from 9 to 5, I'm working, or from 6 to 10 at night, I'll be working. But I have to manage, you know, my stress also.
So it's interesting that you say that.
Those deadlines.
So I did a podcast actually with Yala Shakis. We're sisters.
Right.
We're both in the mortgage industry, and we do a podcast called Learning with Lenders.
Okay.
And we actually just filmed one. We just filmed one earlier today.
Okay.
And one thing that we talked about during that podcast was, I said, like, we're talking about the level of stress. So as a realtor, if we're talking about realtors have emotional stress. So ups and downs.
Right.
They don't have as many transactions. A deal can fall apart. It could be, yeah, boom, it didn't
Right.
work out. Yeah, boom, boom. Or it could be the clients going through such a difficult period in buying a home, and they lean on their realtor with
Right.
everything and their concerns and all their emotional needs. So in the mortgage industry, in my industry, we have a lot of transactions. So we have to manage stress at a very high level
Right.
all the time.
Right.
It's a constant all the time
Yes.
thing. It's a stress on the clients who are trusting us with the biggest purchase
That's
of their
right.
lives. And it's also personal stress. I feel like I walk around with everyone's down payments on my shoulders. I'm not their lawyer. It's your responsibility
Right.
to make sure I don't lose that money. But I got to do my part
Right.
to make sure that they close on time. So we have that constant high level of stress.
Yeah.
And I've learned how to live with it over the years and manage it. But to me, it's like part of the adrenaline of doing my business. And I've learned how to shut it off. So I do.
Oh, so I'm not good at turning it off.
turn it off. I read a book by Dale Carnegie about 26 or 27 years ago called How to Start Living and Stop Worrying. I think that's what it's
yeah,
called. Or How to Start
Something like
Worrying and
that.
Start Living, whatever it was.
The problem is that my clients, you know, like many lawyers, expect me to be available at night, on Sunday. And sometimes I'm really able to say, no, like this just doesn't work for me tonight. And they're very respectful. Others are less so. But there's always something to do. It's never like, oh, I have nothing to do. I have no work to do.
I meant I shut it off. I don't mean that I don't talk to clients
You're
after
saying
hours.
mentally shut
What
it
I'm
off.
saying is that if I have a stressful situation, I have a client that something's going wrong, or they have a time of essence I can't meet,
Right.
or something's not going the way I expect and I have to deliver bad news, or whatever, or I have something, or people are mad at me for whatever reason. So you have this, and I go home, and then what do? Because I stress and be morose the whole night.
Right.
I literally turn it off.
That's great.
And over the last couple of years, someone pointed out something about me that was very interesting that I'm working on today, is that I've gotten so good at turning off and turning on. I'm really good at it. I don't even think about it anymore, just turn off. That I can come across to a client in a very weird manner. On the one hand, very warm and friendly and both there, and then I'm just not there for them. Like, what I do. And why is that? Because I'm waiting for an answer, which I don't have, which I need to tell them.
Right.
So
Right.
while I do everything else, because I want to stress on you calling me every second when I can't. And I've learned now to call someone or send them a text. I know I'm not responding to you right now. I don't have an answer yet. Don't be worried. Sit tight. I'll get to you very quickly.
Right.
Because I had to recognize I've gotten so good at shutting it off that I got to turn on a little bit so clients not in the dark. Like, that's how good I got at that.
Right.
So I don't bring home stress with me usually. I don't think I do, at least. My kids might say different,
Right.
but I don't think I really do. But I do also have learned over the years to manage the hours I'm willing to work on weekends or in the evenings. And by the way, I love working weekends and evenings because that's when I have time to talk and chat. During the day, I'm getting it done. I'm getting it done. You want to have a long conversation. I don't have that time. But on the weekends, I do. I can
Right.
spend an hour explaining something to you, which when you're coming to me for your mortgage, you want my expertise, and I'm boom, boom, boom.
Right.
I don't have all that time all the time. So I don't mind it. But if I have a family event, or if I don't feel well, or if my daughter has a play, or she needs me, I just won't talk during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not like I have a life outside my family and my mortgage business.
Right.
So
No, but you should have a life outside your family and your mortgage business. I found for me, I have an amazing group of friends, like really, really special group of friends. We try and go out, I would say 4 or 5 of us, at least once a month. but I speak to them a lot.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah. I'll be your friend.
It's one of the things my bucket list is to make some more female
Yeah,
friends.
Because
I feel I have one or two friends I can call, but I don't have as many friends because I don't really give myself time for friends.
Right.
So
No,
people like
so-
me, I have acquaintances,
Yeah.
but I really, really can't say that I have
Right.
a lot of friends.
So
For my friends who are watching this, you're very dear to me. And you are my friends, but I wouldn't say that I have a large group or even a group of 5 friends. I get together
you don't need a
all the
lot.
time.
You just need 1 or 2 in your corner.
I do have 1 or 2, but
So-
some of the friends I have are more leaning on me, and I can't lean on them.
Yes,
Right.
then that's not the best friendship.
Right.
You need it 2 ways.
And I also have a lot of sisters.
But sisters are friends.
Sisters are great, but sometimes we could be a little bit competitive, so it's not everything you can talk about with
Right.
your sisters.
Got it.
But I do have
Understood.
sisters. I usually can pick up one to talk to when I need
So
to.
I found for that life outside myself, outside my family and outside work is extremely important to me. It used to be nothing. I'd be go, go, go. Mostly because I was triaging. There was always something wrong. A kid was sick. Dinner didn't happen. The babysitter didn't come. Something at work got crazy. I missed the bus. So I was like in triage mode. And I never did anything for myself. And now I'm like all about myself. My kids know there are certain hours. We discussed before, I kickbox Wednesday morning, Sunday morning. Almost nothing, unless I have court and I can't change it, almost nothing gets in the way of that. I do a lot of massages. I get a lot of massages. That's like very calming for me.
Now I know a gift to give you.
Yes, always, always. But I found that I'm a better person. Not
So
like I'm a better mother, I'm a better attorney. I'm more present when I have all those other things in my life.
It's interesting. So, like, over the course of the years, in my growth as a person, I've always taken time for myself. I didn't realize I was doing a lot of things. By the way, there's a lot of things I did that when I go to, like, these places that teach you, I've done that.
Right.
Without me knowing I
Right.
had to do it. So one thing I've always done was I've always walked in the morning. Since my oldest daughter's now, she's going to be 35 soon, so she's 34
Wow.
now. Since she's been born, I've been walking in the morning for a half hour to an hour every morning. I always found walking partners. I like walking with somebody. I remember when she was an infant, I had somebody who lived next door to me, and we shared like a hallway. And my husband would leave the house usually 6:45 in the morning during those days. That meant I had to be home by 6:45,
Right.
so we'd leave at 6:45. And my husband would watch her kids. She'd leave her kids sleeping
Oh, wow.
with the door open, and I would leave. And then I'd come home at 6:45, and she'd come home at 7:45. She'd come home to her children waking up. So I did that for many, many, many years. I walked at 6:45 till 7:15. And then as my kids got older, they were able to stay home alone. So I wasn't so around my husband's schedule, but I
Right.
still will always, my stop was always be home by 7:00. So I've exercised the past 30 something years
So
being
there you
home
go.
before 7:00 in the morning. So it happens to be right now. I hurt my leg.
Oh.
I'm not sure what's wrong with my leg, but it doesn't work really the way it used to.
Right.
And I can't walk because my foot aches me. So I started to yoga. I'm doing a lot of
Amazing.
stretching. So I found another friend of mine, and I go to her house.
You have friends.
I have a friend of mine, so she only does it 3 mornings a week. So 5:50 in the morning, I
Right.
go to her house. We do yoga with a computer. I never thought I'd do it with a computer, but it's working.
Amazing.
And we love it. And it's really working out very well. So I always find something like that. The second thing is that I like to take a long bath. Now, some people talk about their showers. I can tell you in my fingers how many times I've used my shower. But I like to take a bath. I find it extremely relaxing and calming.
Yeah.
And I do that. And that's something that I do for myself. You know, we all find things that give us,
Exactly.
as I say, it's me time. I don't mind saying I read a book when I'm in the bath. It's me time to
think
read
half
and
the
fall
world
into a
reads
book.
books in the
Okay,
bath.
so there you go. So this
Yeah.
is me time. So I'm
Agreed.
just saying my kids know that. My kids, even my housekeeper, I have the same housekeeper for 23 years. And she said to me on Friday, she says, Mrs. going to bath? She asked me, and I said, no, not today. I didn't have time on Friday. She said, no. But it's just very interesting
Right.
how she asked me, because she
So
knows.
you intuitively knew what you needed.
I guess my
Whether
body knew.
You know, because 20 whatever years ago, we didn't call it
No one
like
talked about it.
self-care
No.
or me time or whatever little packages they put on it. But you intuitively know what you need. Like I intuitively knew at a certain point, like, okay, I need to just kind of change my lifestyle because it wasn't working for me. And traveling to the city from Rockland County is a nightmare every day. Wasn't working for my husband, wasn't working for my kids.
You
I
need
think,
to
and
make a
women
change.
especially intuitively hopefully are in touch with themselves enough to really realize what they need.
So the young generation of today, they're getting into becoming entrepreneurs at a different stage, a different time than when we both did.
Right.
And we both entered the workforce. And now you told me how your journey, my journey was I fell into it. Like I didn't expect it either. It was not what I thought I would do. I thought I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I never thought I'd do anything, actually. I mean, I shouldn't say doing nothing is staying home mom. I don't mean that. I just didn't think I'd be heavily contributing to the finances of my family. I thought my husband would do something and help it. That's what I thought when I was getting married 36 years ago. But things have changed.
Right.
And the young people today, and I have children, they're going into their careers and their lives. And some people, I think that a sad thing is that a lot of people don't choose entrepreneurship as a vocation, to do something. But whatever the case is, they're starting to work. What would you suggest to a young person who wants to go on their own or start to go into the workforce? Because you have both pieces of information, of experience. And what little nuggets would you tell them that you wish someone had told you, or you had listened if someone had told you?
I wish someone would have told me, do what you really want to do, not what is expected of you. Like, what do you really want to do? What's your passion? I also think as early as possible, find a really good group of mentors. You don't have to hang out with you don't want your friend's advice on your entrepreneurship. You want someone that's been there, that's done that, that's successful, that wasn't successful, that lost a lot and then came back. Like, you want experience. And, find those people. I would say every time I've asked for advice, whether it's kind of more global advice or specific advice, like, hey, I don't know how to do this for court. I've never done this. There are always people ready there, willing to help, because we've all been in the same shoes. So find those people, connect to them. Sometimes you have to pay someone, and that's okay too. If I don't mind helping someone at all. If you have a question, people call me up. I don't know how to do this. What do you think about this? But I'm not doing it for 5 hours a week. But there are people that will pay to just kind of get mentored. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. So surround yourself with a group of talented people that have been there, done that can help you out. I think that's probably the most important.
It's interesting. So as you're talking, I'm thinking, how do you find a mentor? And I don't know the answer to that because it's different for everybody.
It's different.
And I find that, but one thing I found in my course of my life journey and my work journey is that people that are highly successful are very generous with their time.
Very.
People are afraid to pick up the phone sometimes. I'm letting you know that they are very generous with their time. Right. That's one thing I've learned. And it's interesting, again, in this article I was reading, I read this past week, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, regarding the person that was talking about teaching people to how to earn more money. He said that he never went to school, economic school. He never went to school like that. But what he did was he called Baruch College, which is a business college, and he called another business college, another city college, and he asked them what the curriculum of books that they expect the students to read, and he read every single one of them, and he connected with the authors. Because somebody who happens to be in his article, he talks about a mortgage, and he's saying the 30-year mortgage was the biggest gift to us. And the person interviewing him said, well, there's this economist everyone knows about, and he says, everyone should pay off the mortgage. What do you think about that? So I'm not going to get into a mortgage talk. I just think that's not a good idea for a lot of different reasons. Not because I write mortgages. I just don't think it's practical. Because if you're worrying about paying off the mortgage or buying a house all cash, you'll never own a house. But so he said that he's read so many different books that he's self-taught. So I think that people who go into any kind of profession, whether working for somebody else or for themselves, you're not going to learn what you need to in school. You're going to go through a school, Hard Knocks, which is the absolute best school out there. But to help you, when you get those knocks, you should read books that are, if you want to focus on sales, read books on sales. If you want to focus on leadership, read books on leadership. If you want to focus on your industry, nuts and bolts information, read industry-related books, pamphlets, articles, whatever you do. If you want to be a doctor, read the Boston Journal of Medicine, whatever it is that you need to read. Read a lot. The information is out there. I happen not to like to read business books. I find that I glaze on them, but I love to listen to them. I listen to a book a month on Audible. Every month I listen to a book a month. And I can tell if anyone who calls me wants to know the books that I love, there's some books I loved. There's books on building a business, books on leadership skills, books on sales. Unbelievable books out there. So I've read those and I continue to read them. So continue always self-teaching, be self-educated, and never stay stagnant. Always keep on learning.
Yeah.
Like, I feel that's important also.
I think it doesn't happen overnight. People just expect to be like, okay, world, I'm here. It doesn't happen like that. It's a lot of hard work.
Well, yeah, that's a very good advice to somebody young.
Yeah, the expectation. Okay, now I feel really, really old. But the expectations of, I would say, the really young people starting out is like, okay, world, bring it on, bring it to me. It's no, you need to go out and you need to fight and you need to be, in the trenches for a long time.
I think that's also that's sometimes hard for young people to realize that, because there's so many young people who've made it big very quickly.
Yeah.
And there's so many industries today that people have found themselves in where, as I said, there's people like, unfortunately, I heard that the whole Amazon business is imploding.
I heard that
But
also.
a lot of people made a lot of money on Amazon. Like they had nothing, they became rich. Then the people in real estate, they had nothing, they became rich.
Right.
Or in the social media aspect, the influencers, they had nothing, they're rich. And so a lot of young people see these glitz because that's what's out there. No one's saying that,
right.
It's not so glitzy to advertise the School of Hard Knocks. And so that's not so glitzy. And so people, they feel, and then they don't achieve that level of success so quickly, they feel very deflated. And that's why also it's important to have a set of mentors around you and to realize that, go with your passion, go with your heart, and stick with something. Stick with a path.
Yeah.
It's also important.
And then you have someone like me I'm too scared to go out on my own. I need stability in life, right? We can psychoanalyze me. But my husband tells me every day, like, why don't you just go out on your own totally? I'm like, because I have to pay the mortgage, not me, we together. Well, and so some people are really okay with just jumping, into the deep end with with nothing to catch them. And others like me are much more cautious, are much more conservative, and they can't do that. And so that's also okay.
Exactly, it's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset, and there's nothing wrong with it.
It's a personality.
It's true. So you found the best of both worlds right now, where you're building something on the side while you're working for a firm, which I'm assuming you're getting a salary.
Correct.
There you go.
Right.
So basically, one of the lessons to young people is that and I tell this to people all the time who want to enter the mortgage industry, you're not going to make money right away.
Right.
So I remember talking to a young man who wanted to go into the mortgage industry, and I said to him, listen, stick with it, but find something else to pay some of your bills.
Yeah.
I said, you can become a waiter, be a waiter at night, because, you can make a lot of money waitering, and during the day you'll work your white-collar job, and at night you'll be the waiter. I said, find something you can do that doesn't tie you down so much. Like, again, being a waiter, being a bartender. I mean, it sounds like these are things that give you flexibility but give you money.
Right.
And so whatever it is, it's hard sometimes to build a business. If you're 9 to 5, you're working at a firm. Not always can you do that, but find something that is flexible in your life that you can make some money. I know a man who works as a caregiver. And he's building his business, and when he's not working his business, he's able to give hours. Whenever he's available, they'll take him to take care of like special needs children. So he works by the hour, and he's doing this while he's building his business. So there's all different fields that give you a lot of flexibility. Maybe they're not going to be your path to mega success, but they'll help pay the bills while you build your business if you have that.
There should be no embarrassment.
Stigma.
Is not the word. Yeah, there should be no embarrassment or stigma about that. Putting food on the table and paying your bills, however you get that done, is admirable. And okay, so you're a bartender. There's nothing wrong with being a bartender.
Bartender's great. They can make a couple $100 a night, and they can pay. Then someone else may have to work a couple days to get that. So it's a good field. It's a good field. So, I'm not telling anyone to become bartenders, please. But I'm just saying that while you're building your business, you have to do something that's seemingly not on the same level, but this is what you need to do. You just do it because this is part of the journey.
So I grew up like that. My mother was actually a math professor.
Don't tell me she was a bartender at night.
No. She was a math professor at a time when, she passed away a few years ago. She would have been 84 now, almost 83. At a time when women did not get PhDs in math. But this is what she was. But she used to tell me that if I ever lost my job, I would clean toilets to put food on the table. And that, to me, was a different kind of role model. Like, you just do what you have to do to get things done.
I have a nephew right now, and he's actually had this idea to develop a product. And so he worked for like 9 months to get it perfect. Then now he gave it to a large, I don't know exactly what they are, but a large company, I guess, that takes a product and learns how to scale it. And they're going through the testing and scaling his product. And he's also researching packaging from other countries, whatever he's doing. And he's driving an Uber now.
Yeah.
And I was like shocked, but he's driving an Uber. And I think that's another idea of something you can do to make some money if you're in a sales and entrepreneurial business and the money's not there yet. You need to make something. Being a woman attorney, I don't know if we can say attorney that being a lawyer is a man's world, or especially corporate law, I think is predominantly male, I would say. But I'm guessing. I don't know for sure.
There's a lot more women than there used to be.
Right. As a woman in working entrepreneurial and in the big firm, what different perspective do you think you bring to the table in your work, in your family? What do you think? But just operating, I don't know, like saying a man's world, but I think your field would say predominantly men still.
I don't know if it is. There's so in the real world. It's like 50-50. Law school's 50-50.
But even so, like it's still traditionally lawyers were predominantly male.
Yeah.
And women had to scramble to get to where they were. I know in the mortgage world, I know a lot of females. I tend to hang out with a lot of them, but there's also a lot of men in the banking world. So what perspective do you think you bring as a woman in your field?
That's a good question, which I have not thought about, because I don't really personally don't distinguish like, okay, now I'm working with a man,
so you're
now
like
I'm working
non-gender?
with a woman.
You're like,
no.
like,
Not that.
Okay, does that mean you're genderless?
No, it doesn't, it's not, I really look at a client as the whole person. What do they need? But I think maybe I try and cut through a lot of the garbage. I don't feel like I need to pasture. I don't feel like, I just like, what does my client need and how do we get it? And I don't necessarily need to be adversarial all the time. In fact, I think I get what my client needs more often because I don't put up this adversarial front, even in some very, very sticky situations, both in commercial matters as well as matrimonial matters. And I try and think outside the box, which is a very good women trait. We try and think like, okay, this is the traditional way to do it. It's not going to work. So what are we going to do? Let's just cut through all the garbage. And that's what I personally try and bring. And I feel like I use that at home also. Okay, this one's going through this. How do we, what could we do to make it work? And so I try and bring that into my work also. We started discussing a little bit before about women and, how do you balance home and life? And I said to you that I feel like I don't do it well. Because you can't be, this is my feeling, that I can't be 100% present for my kids and 100% present for my clients. Does that make me incompetent in what I do? No, it doesn't. It just means that I have competing interests like everybody else.
It's interesting that you say that. Like for many, many, many years, I always said I had two things going in my life. I had my family and I had my work. And I have no time for anything else. Like I know women who get involved in charity stuff and women who do a lot of other nice extracurricular things. And I just never did. I actually also never signed up my kids for extracurricular things because I just wasn't willing to put myself in a situation where I had to drive them or go to competitions. I just didn't have the time for it. And I don't think my kids really suffered. I really truly believe that a stable mom and with their heads, like a stable mom means stable home.
Right.
So if stable mom meant that the kids don't go to extracurricular, the kids don't go to extracurricular. I'm not saying they didn't do anything ever, but they didn't do anything competitive. Like they did the school things and I gave a couple of piano lessons, and some of my kids played baseball, but nothing competitive at all because I just didn't have the time to do and energy to maintain that. And it even came when I chose like different options for my family. I sometimes chose a practical option, not always what was deemed the best option. So I remember once I had my kids years ago, I had my children in a play group and there was like 10 kids in the play group or 8 kids. And it was a really like hands-on, a really good place. And I had made up with the teachers I can drop off at 8:30 in the morning and I can pick up at 3:30. And every day I dropped off like really at 5 to 9. I never came at 8:30. And one time I came like 8:35 and she didn't open the door. And at 5 to 9, she opened the door. And I was very upset. I said, and I told her, I was seething. I was angry. I was shaking. I was so upset because I saw her walking inside. She knew I was there. So she told me, well, the reason why she didn't open the door was that even though I arranged I can drop off 8:30, I gave a neighbor's kid a ride. And that neighbor did not arrange for that. So the one time I came early, she didn't open the door because she didn't arrange for the neighbor's kid. So I explained to her that this is the last day my child's in her playgroup, that my child is leaving today because I was so upset that I couldn't focus my work for an hour and a half. It really, really made me upset. My son's 25. He's 24 years ago.
You're still upset.
No, I'm not upset anymore. So she said to me, well, where are you going to send? I told her another option in town. She goes, that's not a good place. They have 20 kids in the room with one teacher and they're not so clean. I said, my kid will do just fine because her mom will do just fine.
Right.
And I told her, that's fine. And I really believe that. At the end of the story, she apologized. We continued the year and everything was fine. But I remember that I will not go through something that causes me that kind of grief because I can't be there for my family and for my work if I have things in my life that to drag me down. So I know a lot of my friends, there are a lot of women, they don't look at things that way always. They look and say, I want to do what's best for my child, so I'm going to put them in a school that I drop off at 9:30 and pick up at 2:30 because it's just the best place. Well, if you have to try to get your work done and you want to be good for your boss, even though that is the best place in town and they had 25 stars next to it, you may have to send to the one that's only 3 stars, but they give you the 8:30 to 3:30. And that's what you might need. Right. So I'm just saying, like, I've made those choices over the years. I'm very clear. And I have this now. One of my daughters is looking for a play group for her child, and her hours are one that has to go to work at 8:15. So so her daughter's going to go from 9 to 4. And her next little one, she needs a place, and she's finding places that are 9 to 4, but they're far away. And there happens to be very close by, like next door, another opportunity for her, which is 9 to 4, but it costs $250 more a month than the one that's far away. And I said to her, listen, I want to tell you something. You're going to rely on other people to drop off your children because you're not there. Or your husband, depending, he's graduating school now, he's going to get a job. And his job is in the medical field. Will have a couple of days of work and a couple of days not. She doesn't know if he's doing nights. She doesn't know if he's doing days. She doesn't know where he's going to work. I said, it might be him. I said, whatever the case is, I think even though it costs more per month, you need that peace of mind being next door. Right. It's so important. And to me, that would be money I'd have to spend. It wouldn't be something I'm frugal on.
I agree.
Because I'd be frugal on having chicken wings instead of chicken if I found it expensive. Yeah. But I wouldn't be frugal on something that practically could take away from me or take away from my productivity. So as women in the workforce, I think that this is a typical mother's guilt. And I've had a lot of clients who felt that way, that they're not 100 in either place. But I feel that women bring a lot to the table. And I know that you do. I know that you bring a lot to the table. I know that you're detailed. I know that you have a very, very, very high level of brain power. Yeah. And that's applied to everything that you do. So just don't feel guilty.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So Ilana, this is so nice.
Thank
I hope
you.
that did any last words of wisdom that you'd like to impart with those watching this podcast?
That's a good question. I feel like I need to say words of wisdom to myself every day, right? Like good
so that's something. Talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Self-talk.
Self-talk. And it should be positive. And really surround yourself with people in life, not just in your workplace, but have a team for yourself.
Yes.
Your family obviously comes first, your friends, then your mentors. Like, life is complicated, and I feel like especially nowadays everything is so expensive and everything is so fast moving, and people want things now. Even in school, people want things like, oh, the teacher expects you to go get all of this tonight for tomorrow. Just surround yourself with a team, that's there for you in good times and in harder times, and that is what you're going to lean on no matter what happens, because businesses come, businesses go, money comes, money goes. We're not in control of that, but we are in control of who we are with and the positivity that we can bring and that people can bring to us.
100%. I once went to a seminar and he said, take a magnet, and he said, you put the magnet together, on one way it's fixed, and if you take it the other way, it's like pushes apart. Yeah. And he says, with negative people, they always stick to you. So you have to turn it over and push yourself apart from them. Like if you identify something negative in your life, just stay away from them. Yeah. Okay, that was really great. Thank you so much, Ilana.
Thank you very much.
I'm so excited we finally got this done.